Have you ever felt like the VA claims process was designed specifically to wear you down, to make you quit, or to just confuse you until you throw your hands up in frustration? You are not alone. For every veteran who sails through the process with a quick approval, there are dozens who find themselves trapped in an administrative labyrinth, sometimes for years. The truth is, the VA claims journey is not a single road. It is a spectrum of experiences, ranging from the absolute worst nightmare scenario, a true administrative hell, to the rare, perfect outcome. Understanding this spectrum, ranking these common experiences from worst to best, is not just about complaining. It is about equipping you with the knowledge to manage your expectations, prepare for the fight ahead, and crucially, maximize your chances of success. We are ranking the 7 most common VA claims experiences, from the deepest pit of frustration to the pinnacle of validation, and explaining exactly why these differences matter to your future and your financial security. We are diving straight into the deep end, starting with the absolute worst experience a veteran can endure. Chapter Level 7. The worst. The endless loop of the BVA appeal. If you have found yourself here, you know the true definition of burnout. This is the claims experience we call the endless loop. This is where your initial claim was denied, your higher level review, HLR, or supplemental claim failed, and now you are forced to take your fight directly to the Board of Veterans Appeals, or the BVA. This is the administrative equivalent of being sent back to the start line, only the start line is now located in a distant, heavily guarded castle, and the line to get in wraps around the entire kingdom. The emotional toll of reaching level 7 is immense. You have already spent months, often years, gathering evidence, attending C&P exams, and fighting bureaucratic denials, only to be told, once again, that the VA does not see the connection between your service and your suffering. This level of denial attacks your very credibility and integrity. The wait times alone are demoralizing. While the VA has made efforts to streamline the BVA process, the reality is that filing a formal appeal here means bracing yourself for potentially years of waiting. We are talking about 18 to 36 months, or sometimes even longer, depending on which lane you choose. The direct review, the evidence submission, or the formal hearing before a veterans law judge. The reason this ranks as the absolute worst experience is not just the duration, it is the complexity and the psychological exhaustion. You are no longer dealing with a regional office reviewer. You're dealing with high-level legal review. The paperwork required is substantial, specifically the VA Form SNO 182, the Notice of Disagreement. If you choose the evidence submission lane, you are essentially asking the BVA to review the entire history of your claim, plus any new, compelling evidence you have managed to scrape together. If you opt for the hearing, you must wait for a judge's schedule to open up, only to present your case in a formal, often intimidating setting. Many veterans reach this stage feeling completely defeated, believing that the VA is actively trying to deny them their due compensation. This feeling of fighting a monolithic system that simply refuses to acknowledge your pain is the core reason Level 7 is the worst. It often requires hiring expensive legal counsel or a specialized veteran service officer, VSO, just to navigate the procedural complexities, adding financial stress to the already crushing emotional weight. Furthermore, if the BVA denies you, the only path left is the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, CAVC, a true federal legal proceeding which very few veterans are equipped to handle without significant resources. The endless loop is a trap of time, emotion, and financial burden, symbolizing the peak of VA claims frustration. Level 6, the pre-denied claim, the nexus letter failure. Just slightly less agonizing than the BVA loop, Level 6 represents the pre-denied claim. This is the experience where the veteran has all the symptoms, all the medical records proving their current disability. And yet the VA sends that devastating letter stating simply, "We cannot service connect your condition." The sting here is profound because the failure isn't about the severity of your condition. It is about the missing link, the crucial piece of medical documentation known as the nexus. A nexus is the official medical opinion that explicitly connects your current diagnosis to an event, injury, or illness that occurred during your active military service. If you receive a Level 6 denial, it means the VA acknowledged your medical records, but the Compensation and Pension (C&P) examiner either failed to provide a positive nexus, or worse, provided a negative one, concluding that your disability is less likely than not related to service. The frustration of the pre-denied claim is rooted in the feeling of being right, but procedurally wrong. You know your back pain started after that jump in 2005, but the VA cannot connect the dots because the C&P examiner, who saw you for 15 minutes, decided there was no immediate connection. This experience forces the veteran into an expensive, often risky, search for an independent medical opinion, IMO. You must now find a private doctor, often a specialist, who understands the specific legal requirements of a VA claim and is willing to review your entire service record and medical history to write a favorable nexus letter. This letter must be detailed, citing specific medical literature and definitively stating that the connection is at least as likely as not. The financial outlay for a strong, favorable IMO can range from several hundred to several $1,000s, and there is absolutely no guarantee that the VA will accept it. What elevates this experience to Level 6 is the feeling of having to buy your evidence. The VA has a duty to assist, but when the initial C&P examiner provides a negative opinion, that duty effectively shifts the burden of proof entirely back onto the veteran. You have to prove the VA wrong, and you have to pay for the expert testimony to do it. This process often involves filing a supplemental claim, a key difference from Level 7, which usually requires an appeal path, meaning you must introduce new and relevant evidence, and that nexus letter is the only new evidence that matters. The time spent coordinating with private doctors, paying consultation fees, and waiting for the supplemental claim to be processed adds months to the timeline, leaving the veteran in a purgatory where their suffering is recognized, but their sacrifice is not compensated. The sheer inefficiency and the monetary barrier required to fix this administrative oversight make the pre-denied claim a deeply painful and frustrating experience. Jotkurstukmi, Level 5, the partial win, partial loss, the underrating trap. Level 5, the bittersweet taste of the partial win, partial loss. This is the experience where the VA concedes service connection, a huge hurdle cleared, but assigns a rating that is dramatically lower than what your symptoms warrant. For example, you claimed PTSD and severe bilateral knee pain, hoping for 70% and 40% respectively, only to receive a 30% rating for the PTSD and a 0% non-compensable rating for the knees. This experience is frustrating because you achieved the hardest part, the service connection, but now you are shortchanged on the compensation that reflects the reality of your daily life. The underrating trap is insidious because it often tempts veterans to accept the lower rating just to avoid further bureaucratic hassle. After months of waiting, receiving that first check, even if it is too low, can feel like a victory, causing many to settle. However, settling here is a massive mistake, which is why this experience ranks so high on the frustration scale. The difference between 30% and 70% is not just financial, it affects eligibility for other programs and healthcare benefits. The problem at Level 5 is usually the C&P exam documentation, specifically how the examiner transcribed the severity of your symptoms. For mental health claims, the difference between a 30% rating and a 70% rating often boils down to specific key phrases in the examiner's report regarding occupational and social impairment. Did the examiner accurately capture that you are unable to maintain employment? Did they note the frequency and duration of your panic attacks? Often, the language used is vague or minimizes the true impact of the condition. For physical claims, the failure usually lies in the measurements, the range of motion tests. If the examiner fails to measure pain-induced limitation, the point where movement stops due to pain, not just physical limit, the rating will be artificially low, often resulting in that dreaded 0%. To fix a level 5 under rating, the veteran must decide between two primary paths: the higher level review, HLR, or the supplemental claim. The HLR is usually faster, arguing that the VA made an error based only on the evidence already in the file, e.g., the C&P examiner misapplied the rating schedule, 38 CFR. The supplemental claim requires new evidence, usually a detailed medical opinion from your private doctor, explicitly stating that your symptoms meet the criteria for a higher rating. This process is time-consuming and requires intense focus on the specifics of the rating schedule. You must become fluent in the regulatory language of your disability. The psychological difficulty here is fighting for validation after already achieving a partial victory. It feels like picking a fight that the VA should have gotten. Write the EO first time. The financial difference over a lifetime between a 30% rating and a 70% rating can easily be 6 figures, making the necessity of fighting this underrating crucial, even though the fight itself is exhausting. This level is a masterclass in bureaucratic minimization, forcing the veteran to prove their pain is more painful than the VA initially calculated. Chaknarn. Level 4, the fast track but flawed, quick approval, low rating. Level 4 is the experience that initially feels like a win, only to reveal its subtle flaw later. We call this the fast track but flawed experience. This occurs when a veteran files a claim and receives a decision surprisingly quickly, perhaps within 3 to 5 months, but the overall rating is lower than anticipated, or they receive a cluster of 0% non-compensable ratings. The speed of the decision is the anomaly here. Why did the VA move so fast? Often it is because the claim was straightforward and the VA's duty to assist was performed minimally. The C&P exam was brief, the records review was cursory, and the decision was made based on the easiest path forward for the VA. Concede service connection, but assign the lowest defensible rating. The danger of Level 4 is complacency. Because the claim was approved quickly, the veteran often assumes they have been treated fairly and moves on. However, those quick low ratings can haunt you later. A 10% rating for a condition that should be 30% is a problem, but a quick 0% rating for a condition like tinnitus or scars often means the VA has closed the door on that issue without fully investigating its impact. Furthermore, if you are granted a low rating quickly, that rating becomes the baseline. If your condition deteriorates significantly years later, the burden of proof to increase. That rating is often higher than if you had fought for the correct rating initially. The fast track often sacrifices accuracy for expediency. The C&P examiner, pressured by the system to move claims quickly, might only focus on the most obvious symptoms, failing to document the full spectrum of secondary conditions or the true frequency of flare-ups. The veteran in Level 4 must quickly recognize that speed does not equate to fairness. They must immediately review the decision letter and the evidence cited. If the decision was fast, there is a high likelihood that the VA failed its duty to fully gather all relevant service treatment records, STRs, or private medical records, PMRs. To correct this, the veteran must use the HLR process, arguing that the VA overlooked evidence already in the file that would justify a higher rating, or file a supplemental claim with new evidence that meticulously documents the true severity of the disability, perhaps using detailed lay statements or buddy statements that were not included in the initial quick filing. Level 4 is a warning sign. If the VA seems too generous with its time, they may be being stingy with your rating. This is a subtle form of denial, dressed up as a quick win, and recognizing this distinction is critical for long-term financial stability and access to appropriate health care. The speed of the process is the primary factor differentiating this from Level 5. Level 5 often involves a lengthy process that results in a bad outcome, while Level 4 is a short process that results in an insufficient outcome. Level 3. The straightforward secondary claim, the linked success. Now we begin to enter the territory of genuinely positive claims experiences. Level 3 is the straightforward secondary claim. This is the sweet spot where a veteran is already service-connected for Condition A, and they file a new claim for Condition B, arguing that Condition A caused or aggravated Condition B. The beauty of the secondary claim is that the hardest part, proving service connection, is already done. You're not fighting the VA on if you were injured in service. You're only fighting on the medical reality of how that existing injury has cascaded into other health problems. Common examples of Level 3 claims include claiming sleep apnea secondary to PTSD due to weight gain or medication side effects, claiming peripheral neuropathy secondary to service-connected diabetes, or claiming chronic joint pain in the opposite leg secondary to a severe service-connected knee injury due to gait changes and overcompensation. When these claims go smoothly, it is a truly positive experience. The veteran provides medical evidence from their doctor stating that the secondary connection is at least as likely as not, and the C&P examiner agrees because the medical literature supporting the link is strong and widely accepted. The administrative friction is significantly reduced because the VA is only looking for a medical correlation, not an original service event. What makes this experience Level 3 is the clarity and the reduced stress. The veteran is usually already receiving compensation, so the stakes feel lower and the path forward is clearer. The key to ensuring a Level 3 experience remains straightforward is preparation. The veteran must ensure their private doctor explicitly links the conditions and uses precise language that meets the VA's standards. Furthermore, the veteran must provide detailed lay statements explaining how the primary condition led to the secondary condition, e.g., because my left knee was so painful, I started favoring my right leg, which led to chronic hip pain. When the evidence is this clean and the medical logic is sound, the VA can process the claim efficiently, often resulting in a quick, accurate approval and an increased combined rating. This experience provides a significant psychological boost, reinforcing the idea that the VA system can work when the evidence is irrefutable and the argument is purely medical rather than procedural. The speed and predictability of the secondary claim, when handled correctly, make it one of the less stressful paths in the VA journey. Level 2, the high-value increase, the jump to 100% P&T. Level 2 is the high-value increase, specifically the successful move from a mid-range rating, like 70% or 80%, up to the coveted 100% rating, often with permanent and total P&T status. This is a life-changing event. The financial security, the comprehensive health care benefits, and the educational benefits for dependents that come with 100% P&T fundamentally alter a veteran's quality of life. Achieving this milestone means the VA has finally recognized the full catastrophic impact of service-connected disabilities on the veteran's ability to live a normal life and maintain gainful employment. The experience is positive, but it is ranked Level 2 because the process of achieving this increase is often intense and requires significant documentation of deterioration. Unlike the first-time success, Level 1, the veteran here has had to endure the worsening of their conditions and meticulously document that decline over time. The claim for an increase requires detailed medical evidence demonstrating that the symptoms now meet the higher rating criteria defined in 38 CFR. For example, Moving a mental health rating from 70% to 100% requires evidence that the veteran is now essentially unable to function in social or occupational settings, often necessitating hospitalization or continuous supervision. This process can be emotionally draining, as the veteran must relive and detail their worst moments of decline. However, when the claim is approved, the relief is overwhelming. This experience often involves navigating the difference between a Schedule 100% rating, based purely on the math of combined disabilities, and total disability based on individual unemployability, TDIU. If the veteran is unable to maintain substantially gainful employment due to their service-connected disabilities, even if their combined rating is less than 100%, usually 70% or higher, they can be rated at the 100% level via TDIU. The successful approval of TDIU, or the jump to Schedule 100%, is validation of years of struggle. The feeling of financial freedom, the ability to focus entirely on health and family without the constant pressure of employment, is what places this experience so high on the positive spectrum. While the road to get here involved pain, the outcome is transformative, solidifying Level 2 as a profoundly successful and positive claims experience. Number 2. Level 1. The best. The first-time success, the fully developed claim. This is the mythical white whale of VA claims. Level 1. The first-time success. This is the experience where a veteran files their very first claim, utilizing the fully developed claim (FDC) process, and receives an accurate, fair, and timely decision with minimal administrative pushback. This outcome is not luck. It is the direct result of meticulous, exhaustive preparation. The veteran who achieves Level 1 has done their homework, often utilizing professional guidance or a highly competent VSO. They have entered the VA system armored with evidence, leaving no room for administrative doubt. The key components of the Level 1 experience are speed, accuracy, and reduced stress. The FDC process means the veteran submits all relevant evidence: medical records, service treatment records, lay statements, and often a private nexus letter, concurrently with the initial claim. They are not asking the VA to search for records. They are presenting a complete, bulletproof case file. This dramatically reduces the processing time, often leading to a decision in under 6 months. Furthermore, because the evidence is so compelling, the C&P examiner is often guided toward a favorable opinion, and the VA rater has all the necessary information to assign the correct rating the first time, avoiding the pitfalls of Levels 4 and 5. The emotional benefit of the first-time success is unparalleled. There is no protracted fight, no demoralizing denial, and no years-long wait for justice. The veteran feels validated immediately, confirming that their sacrifice is recognized and their injuries are acknowledged. This experience is the ideal scenario because it minimizes the secondary trauma often associated with the claims process, the stress, anxiety, and frustration that compound existing disabilities. Achieving Level 1 means the veteran can immediately begin accessing the proper healthcare and financial resources needed for recovery and stability, rather than spending crucial years fighting bureaucracy. This is the model every veteran should aim for, proving that knowledge, preparation, and comprehensive documentation can circumvent the worst aspects of the VA system, making it the undisputed best experience in the claims journey. Why this ranking matters. The takeaway. So, why did we spend time ranking these 7 experiences, from the endless loop to the first-time success? Because understanding this spectrum fundamentally changes how you approach your claim. If you are starting out, you must recognize that your goal is Level 1. You must treat your initial claim not as a request, but as a legal presentation of evidence. This means utilizing the fully developed claim process, ensuring you have a strong positive nexus for every condition, and meticulously detailing the frequency and severity of your symptoms through comprehensive lay statements and buddy statements. Do not rely solely on the VA's duty to assist. Assist yourself first and foremost. If you find yourself stuck at level 6, the pre-denied claim, you know immediately that your fight is now focused entirely on obtaining that independent medical opinion, the nexus letter. You stop arguing about your pain and start arguing about medical causation. If you are stuck at level 5, the underrating trap, your focus shifts entirely to the rating schedule, 38 CFR. You are no longer fighting service connection. You are fighting for the correct percentage based on the regulatory language. You must become a temporary expert in the specific diagnostic code for your disability. And if you are tragically trapped in level 7, the endless loop of the BVA appeal, you must recognize that you are in a legal battle that requires patience, professional guidance, and a renewed commitment to the fight. You must decide if the financial and emotional cost of the long wait is worth the potential reward, and you must structure your appeal based on the specific BVA lane that best suits your evidence. The VA claims process is fundamentally a marathon, not a sprint, and knowledge is your most powerful armor. The difference between a level 7 experience and a level 1 experience often comes down to the quality of the evidence presented on day 1. Do not allow yourself to be dragged into the administrative purgatory of the lower levels due to poor preparation or misunderstanding the procedural requirements. Every veteran deserves the compensation and care they earned through their service. By knowing the terrain, you can navigate the maze more efficiently, minimize the emotional damage, and secure the benefits that will allow you to finally focus on what truly matters: your health, your family, and your future. Take this ranking, use it as your strategic map, and prepare to fight for the benefits you deserve, aiming always for that level 1 success.